computer.
So now we have to accept. Okay, just playing the bad music.
Oh, I have to watch my language.
Norm's going to lose points for that.
There's the entry music. I was embedding an atmosphere.
Hey, can you guys hear this?
Mm-hmm.
I hear you talking. I didn't hear anything else.
Is there a sound effect we're supposed to hear?
Well, and then there's this one.
No.
There's a little whoop. I don't know. Yeah, that's it. I heard that.
It's high tech, so just let me know.
There we go.
Just so you know, we never have fun around here.
Who's kicking us off so that somebody that's watching this actually knows what kind of mess this is?
The Huff mess.
You guys keep this up. I'm gonna send you all propeller beanies.
I missed that, Alan. What was that?
He's going to send us propeller.
You guys keep up the horseplay. I'm gonna send you all propeller beanies.
We'll fit over my tinfoil hat.
That doesn't horseplay. I'm a lot more rough.
Y'all remember Gary Johnson, the very first LabVIEW book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and his propeller beanie, because none of us should take ourselves that seriously.
Gary Johnson.
I like it.
Yeah, Ben Rayner had
a lot of.
Alan, you might want to turn up your volume just a tad.
Yeah, maybe I'll move the mic closer.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
I have a not great mic. Maybe someone will get me one for Christmas.
So as we can tell, Nancy's great at herding all of us together.
That's watching this and wondering what the Sam Hill's going on with all these kind of crazy people. This is the first ever this year in LabVIEW podcast. Steve Watts, it is a podcast. Eli, you may need to help us with the acronym because this is not this month in LabVIEW. TMILV, it's this year in LabVIEW. Excuse me. And we keep it light. This is unedited. So Alan, whatever you were saying a few minutes ago in the green room, you can't say that again because it is. And then Norm, you were telling us some secrets on the NI roadmap. You probably don't want those out in public either. So because we're not going to edit anything else out. So anyhow, we are the LabVIEW conspirators, and there are 3 of us that have been doing this for a bit, and we have a guest every week, except I think our first week. So we have a bunch of our guests on today. We don't have all of our guests. We're missing Karsten. We're missing Steve Rogers and some of our friends that were with us at, I think I said the wrong name, Greg McCaskill. Who was with us?
Greg McCaskill and Chothan.
Yes. Thank you.
And Stefan Lemons.
And Stefan is not here as well. So yeah, we have several that are missing, but just quick introductions. We have Steve Watts, who made this happen, the professor of pragmatism. And with the gong today is Sam, who is the architect of adventure. If you want to try something new and different, Sam has probably done it and can give you guidance on it. And I am Nancy Henson. I am our chief of connectivity here. And we have our amazing guest, Tim Robinson, who is also going to be reporting in from drone traffic in at Wright Pat. Alan Smith, who was, I think, the first ever CLA, or first class of CLAs. Alan, do I have that correctly? You started one of the first user groups.
I don't recall the ancient history.
Oh, that's right.
I was the only CLA in New Mexico for a while.
I was the second in Ohio. Does that count?
I was like in the first 10, I think, in PA.
We also have
I
Mark.
Certified in 04.
Mark Hansen, not my cousin. Neither one of us misspelled our names, and who has some really cool test-stand stuff that he might be pointing out as one of his favorite things from 2024. At least maybe I heard that. We have Norm Kirchner, who has his Geiger counter ready to go for more drone flights, and Mr. Eli Carey, who has written more on LabVIEW for complex applications within the LabVIEW community probably than anybody else. Is that fair, Eli?
That's an interesting way to introduce me. Yeah, I perhaps, at least I've certainly talked about it ad nauseum. So
yeah. So we're grateful to have everybody here today. So the homework for everyone, as if anyone actually did their homework, which I kind of doubt, I kind of did mine, was we're going to talk about what's a great thing that happened in 2024. And so that's going to be our A block. Then we're going to shift into what is your favorite project. Now, your favorite project could be 2024, or it might not be 2024. And then we're going to have what do we want to see in 2025. So, Alan, I already know your best thing that happened in 2024, Active Framework going open source. the best project of the year was Actor Framework going open source. In 2025, you're going to see more Actor
Private
Framework going
project,
open
so let me
source.
get to that part.
So, one great thing that happened, and Tim has a list of about 24 great things before we get to Tim's list. Excellent. Somebody
I would
did
just say that I saw the homework and instantly wrote this down in like 10 minutes time. So
He's an overachiever.
yeah, I know.
That's
I
going
had
to
to get it
affect
out of my
his
brain.
points.
No, I had to get it out of my brain, otherwise it would have tormented me forever. So
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Exactly.
Because the drones will be circling above you and dropping your great ideas about 2024. So I'll go on and start it. I bar none, I think the best thing that happened in 2024 was I'm going to put you on the spot. Was when Eli, you landed in your new role, I think in like February or March. And as soon as I got the news on that, I'm like, that was a badass move of NI to bring you back to the LabVIEW fold. So, Eli, you're down for my number one thing in 2024. Sorry, Alan, it's not AF.
Well, I'm humbled. I hope the excitement. I hope we live up to the level of excitement. So yeah, I'm excited to be back. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
We'll get to 2025 in the C block. I got a long list for you, kind of like Tim's. Norm.
We should compare notes.
we will.
Norm,
What's up?
you did not do your homework. I have no idea what your favorite thing from 2024 is.
So just so that we understand the point system here, Norm
Oh, yes,
gets
the point system and the
gets
$100
minus 10
gift
points for
certificate.
not doing his homework. But he's also got plus 5 points for showing me his dog, and then plus 2 points for showing me his Razda.
Daisy, come.
I got one of those rats.
Yeah, well, you got to show me it, man. You can't.
He's calling the dog now.
Yeah. Go work for those points.
I got two.
So, no, the favorite thing from 2024. Let's see. There's the ins and the outs. I would say that my favorite thing has really been getting back into kind of just my job. My purpose of my job is to just focus on LabVIEW and to work with the community at large. That has just been so great to be able to kind of pivot to what I've kind of have always tried to keep as part of my life and my job. And now it is, my job is to make the LabVIEW world as happy as possible. So that's pretty cool. And then playing with all the toys that we're playing with again and trying to get people excited about just LabVIEW, period.
So Norm, let's get off of the all about Norm. Everybody's gonna get razzed a little bit today. No, and yes, Norm, you and Sergio, definitely all three of you guys coming back is absolutely fantastic. What else from between doing the videos and getting creative and bringing more of the toys in your garage into the NI studio? Like, what are some of the things that you've seen in 2024 that made you go, And I'm gonna pivot, Norm, give you a chance to think on that for a bit. And
That was the CTI. The CTI, hands down.
all right, there we go.
I mean, that's been the impetus behind it and trying to have that become just more common flavor, and just even the bigger idea of what's the difference between teaching LabVIEW and hardware, or teaching how to control hardware. Like, it's been a very thought-provoking question mark of what is needed, what's good. But I'm so grateful that the community, Steve taking over 6 months of his life to try to create the boilerplate with Derek, if I'm not mistaken, right? So that's been it's been pretty huge to see that come to life and to be excited about getting engaged with it.
Awesome. And I will second that one. So that one sorry, Eli, that one may move to my first choice now that Norm mentions it. I don't know how many points Steve's giving it.
I don't know.
Well, we got to talk about Actor
For people
Framework
watching, the community training initiative.
Yes, community training initiative. I know Steve has, there'll be a link in the show notes. Alan, Actor Framework.
Yes.
Sorry I stole your thunder.
That's all right. No, that is
No one cares
my
about Actor
favorite.
Framework, though.
You don't have to.
Censor.
It's not required. But for those of us
Moving
who
on.
do, it's been difficult the last few years as everybody folks have moved around in the world and realizing that there was nobody at NI that could advance Actor Framework. And knowing there were things that were relatively easy to fix, but we couldn't, couldn't get the resources on it, couldn't get an official channel in. And meanwhile, watching, DQMH, what can happen when you actually have a community that can push forward ideas, and knowing we were kind of stuck. And so getting to do that work in 2024, the code is all the code changes are in place, the repos mostly in place, there's some documentation needs to be done. We're coming along nicely. We've been able to fix a couple of issues that have been plagued us for a while. But that sense of being able to move forward, to take the sort of latent pressure that's been building up with within the AF Guild and within the AF community, of we have things we want to do, we want to be able to push us forward, and we can't. And now that barrier has been removed, and we're going to be able to finally move forward. And I think the most of the work is going to be in the space of tooling as opposed to structure, but there's a lot of good tooling ideas out there that have been people's side projects, and we have a way to now bring them in and make them really a part of that a part of the ecology. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited to not feel stuck anymore, in a very real sense.
That is incredibly energizing. And take a shout out, like, who are some of the top individuals who are, well, two questions. Who are some of the top individuals that have really helped make this happen, both in NI and in the community? And then, who are some of the top thought leaders you expect to be contributing moving forward?
So I really have to credit Eric Ruffett for getting the open source, because I went to Eric a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, with like, dude, let me just come fix a couple things. What's the channel to go work with somebody? And his response was, well, how about we just open source it? And he was the front man for some internal conversations that were already going on. And so I really have to credit Eric for kicking it off. And then, of course, Eli stepped into the role and has been really shepherding it for the actual implementation stages. Sergio has been great in terms of taking point on a lot of the things that I just don't want to do, that I don't want to be responsible for, that have to be done, infrastructure work within NI to let us do this effectively. And so I got to lay that on Sergio for taking that on, and just a massive shout out to him. Going forward, I think I'll contribute, of course, because there's things that I want to see happen. That tends to be driven by what my project needs are. I need a thing for the project that makes sense to be global. But I would look at Casey May as a significant contributor, and more fellows out at Zaya. I know Q's chomping at the bit. There are a couple of other fellas that have some interesting ideas. Derek Bonrito has a really cool idea for AF about turning the messages, the base message, into interfaces instead of a class. And it doesn't seem like a big change, but I think it's going to open up so it lines up with some other ideas that other folks have had. So I would sort of watch those folks.
Fantastic. So definitely Refit and Sergio get raises, in case somebody in NI is listening. That would also include Eli needs a raise, Norm needs a raise. We want all four of those gentlemen to be rocking in their roles. We'll have to get Casey definitely on, Derek, Q, and others. So great that we're getting some leadership from those gentlemen. Outstanding. Thanks for sharing that. And yay, Eric. That's a great backstory to know about. Mark, it sounds like you guys have been doing some cool stuff at G Power. So maybe take a moment, share real quickly so everybody knows your background a little bit, G Power, and what you guys have been up to in 2024.
Yeah, sure. I think one of the most huge thing for us internally at G Power is the release of LabVIEW 2024 Q3, I guess it's the newest one, but where a lot of bug fixing has been happening to LabVIEW internally, which make it so that some of the challenges we had by using some of the previous versions now makes it so we can actually upgrade from, I think it was 2019 now to a newer version. And that had a huge impact also performance-wise, because there has been a lot of optimization going on in terms of the compiler for LabVIEW itself. So some of the projects we had previously that would take about half an hour to build or something, with the newest version takes about 8-9 minutes. So it's a huge performance increase by upgrading to the newest version. So that we are very happy about. That it seems like NI has really stepped up the game when it comes to bug fixing and upgrading things from what makes it so that the community can actually work with the versions. And we are, of course, looking much more into stuff with PPLs. Also, if you haven't seen Jens Christian's presentation from GDevCon, going against Darren's advice and using PPLs, I definitely recommend people look into that. But that's an awesome thing we have going on, and that's something we will be investing much more into, using that for distributing packages and drivers and whatnot. So yeah, things are looking very good in terms of those things. And of course, it's also nice to just get some of the newest features that's been going on for the last couple of years in general when it comes to LabVIEW. Now I didn't introduce dPower too much, but yeah, we are a little small consultancy house which primarily focus on developing LabVIEW and test stand applications. So I think we are about 15 or something developers, where I believe 7 of those are LabVIEW architects and test stand architects, and we got 3 LabVIEW champions on staff also. So for us, NI and LabVIEW is a huge deal. So we are very much investing into that. So it's very great to see some very new things from NI in general, and also they seem much more open and willing to share about all sorts of upcoming things. So yeah, that's I guess for 24. I guess
I like it. G Power is definitely a powerhouse of LabVIEW experts who are definitely going to push new features and huge contributors to the community and new ideas and everything else. So it's great to have you guys as part of the community, and Mark, have you on here. So I know there's going to be a little bit of overlap between, I think, what some of Sam's things, some of Tim's things. So Sam, what are some of your favorites from 2024?
Yeah, I have a couple things, but they all kind of tie into this theme of basically NI doing a 180 in terms of how it interacts with the community, which I think is one of the huge stories this year. So
yeah,
like one of the events that they did, they just did a sales conference recently, and they invited myself and a couple other consultants and a bunch of partners there, and that was really great. In the past, I don't know that would have happened. Bringing both Gregs and Chathan to the GDevCons, I think, was really huge.
Yep.
And of course, all the Eli, Sergio, Norm stuff that's going on. And there's a bunch of other stuff too. So that's really great. Mark mentioned LabVIEW 2024. I really like the save for previous feature. Still got a few bugs and kinks to work out, but overall, very much like it. Huge step forward.
Yeah, that has actually simplified a lot of my processes by doing the save for previous. There's some bugs in there, some weird nuances because due to dependencies being saved inside the VI. So if you like save for 2020, or if in 2024 you save for previous to 2020, the built-in. Somewhere along the line, and I changed how the trim white space works. So therefore, when you first load it in the 2020, then it's looking for the new sub VIs.
Yeah, that is.
It doesn't find them, and then you just hit ignore, and then it's happy. So it's nothing. It's nothing breaking really, but it's just a small annoyance.
Yeah, there's a few things, but overall, 95% of the way there, 99% of the way there. There's just a few kinks to work out.
It's very much worth using.
Yep.
Oh yeah. I used it when we backported the 2024 AS stuff to 2020.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice.
Well, I'm like the king of the save or the version conversion board, and I've been abusing that feature in order to do a lot of conversions if they're not going too far back.
Yeah, that makes converting code a lot easier than loading it and doing the save for previous. Just load it and change the version and save it all.
Exactly.
It works. Yeah, that's great.
All right, Steve, I think everyone's covered your top issues. Do you have anything to contribute? Anything else to add here?
No, I do. I mean, I tend to sort of focus on the human factors, and for me, Sam's already covered mine, which was NI releasing R&D to events, and that to me is the foundation of a healthy environment. Because that I a long time ago I wrote an ecosystem diagram, and it was having that whole ecosystem working together, and being fed back, and moving away from lots of little opaque rooms and nobody speaks to each other and everyone's disgruntled with each other, and that's not that's not a good way to have a software community. It's not a good way to have a community during command, yeah, but we're in a much better situation. And as much as I'm going to rib Tim about his list, the fact he could just scribble out a list in 10 minutes says an enormous amount. It says because go back 12 months, we couldn't have done that. Go back 2 years, that again would have been very difficult. Go back 5 years, it would have been more moans than, this has happened over a long period of time, and to have that enthusiasm. So I think my note to myself was just enthusiasm. Is that there's a lot of things generating enthusiasm now, and it's a long way back, but it's a good. You have to start, and you have to start somewhere, and we've started somewhere, and it's really going quite well, and it's going a lot better than I expected it to be. So kudos to everyone doing all the hard work.
I completely agree with that. And I think, Sam, it was you that said the 180. I've said this in so many different conversations. I am so impressed with how quickly Ritu and the entire team flipped that ship around so fast. And it really is exciting. So Sam, real quick, and then we're going to go to NI, and then we're going to go to Tim, who's batting cleanup, to see if there's anything on his list that hadn't been mentioned.
I just want to add something. We talked about the direction that NI is going, and it's good that they've got that direction. It's good that they're saying all the right things, but the change that I've seen this year is they're actually doing things. All the things I mentioned are concrete things that they're doing, which is what we've been asking for a while, because it felt like in the past that they would say what we wanted to hear, and then there was no change. And so actually seeing the actions, there's still more to do, and but we're heading in the right direction. And there's concrete evidence of that. So
I want to interject here and say here's things that on my list that NI is actively doing. I mean, the icon editor and actor framework going open source was a big deal. Just figuring out the process. Recently, there's activity for an FPGA examples repo going public or open source. So that's happened last week or so. R&D being at DevCons was a big deal. The Greg's being there, huge thing. Eli in his position is very key. I couldn't think of anybody better for the job he's doing. Norm being was a LabVIEW software evangelist. Is that your position?
Yep.
Keep it up. You have great plans. Find his video series on YouTube, because he's going to do things. I guarantee it. Sergio being in charge of the open source, he's doing a phenomenal job. Phenomenal. I will sing his praises about this for the rest of the year. You can laugh at it. Okay. Perpetual licenses are back officially. So that was a big deal that we've been screaming about to NI for how many, 3 years-ish. Then 2024's Q3 was a great release, especially with the save for previous. So those are things NI actively did. And I'll also say there's a lot of enthusiasm coming from the LabVIEW community. The community is doing a lot of things as well. On this podcast getting started up, it was a big deal. The GID exchange, we started mob programming to get a top-level VI quick drop release. I was active in that. I'm still active in keeping that going. It's a fun little project. It's kind of simple, but it's something the community wanted, and the community is supplying. The community is also in the open source projects, obviously. community training initiative. We had the major release, and there's a lot of activity happening all of a sudden again for it. So work is being worked on that. I'm working on cleaning up a bunch of code in there. I know Fabiola took charge of documentation, and she's running with that. Derek is also doing a lot of firmware updates for that, trying to get communications going for I2C, SPI, and UART. Summer LabVIEW, I'm going to mention Derek a lot here. He led the Summer LabVIEW. That was a fun little thing. Admin and code is going on right now. If you haven't participated in that, there's a lot of activity happening on the Discord for that. I know Sam's active in that one. I have too many other things. I couldn't get into it. So that's my major list for what the community is doing. So there's a lot of activity happening on both sides, not just NI, not just community, but it's on both sides, and there's a lot of mutual work happening. So for those reasons, I am extremely enthusiastic about where we are going.
Yeah, having been in this community in some way, shape, or form, and Alan can probably attest to it for many decades, the enthusiasm and the number of people and the different projects, it is absolutely fantastic. And again, the advent of LabVIEW too. So before we shift to talking about some of our favorite projects, either current, it didn't have to be 2024.
We skipped Eli. Sorry, I skipped Eli.
We want to hear from
I had to interject. I'm sorry. It was too much of a good segue to what I had to say. So
exactly. So
move on, Eli. Finish it up.
So Eli and Norm, you guys are up for whether maybe there's some really cool things in 2024 that we haven't seen that are going on internally at NI, but you guys have the floor for what you're loving about 2024, in addition to the fact that you guys are both in those roles, which is fantastic. Go, Eli.
Who goes first, Norm? My favorite
Norm.
Okay.
I think Norm already talked, so.
So man, it's been a wild ride. It's been a fast year. So it's really interesting, and it's the first moment I've had to like really reflect on the year listening to this conversation. Been a lot of travel. I've been out in the community quite a bit. I think, I at the risk of losing points, the first thing that comes to mind is somewhat abstract. It's like across all of these, there's a few emergent themes that I think are really exciting and empowering. And for context, I came back to this role in March, having been somewhat removed from the LabVIEW community. And so I wasn't entirely sure what to expect. I reached out to a few people to kind of gauge the temperament and understand the state of things. I knew that there were some major challenges facing the community. But I think one of the most encouraging things is just the enthusiasm and the passion amongst all of the users I've interacted with all around the world. So I think that's incredibly invigorating for me and fuels me, realizing there's a lot of challenges we have to work through as a company and as a product, and we are. And I think that's really incredibly motivating. And so to bridge from the abstract into something real across all the interactions I've had over the last year, I think Stuttgart stands out. Now, admittedly, I couldn't make the full Colorado event. I'm sure it was equally awesome, but I only caught like the last few hours of it because that's all I could do. Took the job. I already had a vacation booked that overlapped. Otherwise, I would have been there too. But I think Stuttgart stands out just because of I think it exemplified the level of enthusiasm, the passion, the knowledge, the advocacy. And I think it demonstrates what I've seen everywhere I've gone. And so I think I point to that as a highlight. I think perhaps more impactful for this group is the highlight of internally, behind closed doors, there's a lot of discussion around, okay, we're saying the right things. We've got to put our money where our mouth is. We've got to make some real progress. And that's, the obvious example of that is product, but it's in how we talk about the product, marketing, it's in sales enablement. And so you begin to see like bringing back the territory sellers and really talking about LabVIEW in a very deliberate way. But I think most impactful for this group is we've actually moved a significant number of R&D people to really refocus our efforts on LabVIEW and our core product. And I think leadership increasingly understands the importance of that. And so I find that both as an advocate and as someone whose career is very tied to this product, really something to be excited and optimistic about. And I think it will result in us being able to make some really material and impactful progress on some of the things that the LabVIEW community cares about. But I encourage everyone, as I often say, to hold our feet to the fire, right? We're saying a lot of the right things. You're seeing some good movement. I'm glad to hear the reactions of people on this call. But it's going to be a journey. And we've got to work together to get where we all want this product and this platform to go. So that's my answer.
Can I weigh in on that with an observation?
Sure.
And it is absolutely something that I have to give full kudos and applause to NI for. A large part of, I think, why you guys have been so successful in re-engaging with this is that you have brought a very different attitude to that. Whereas in the past, it's been sort of, and I would move. And that was just like the way, and there was no acknowledgement of that before. I have seen from NI a real sense of, acknowledgement and embracing that, we haven't done right in the last several years, and now we want to come back and do right. And that owning of NI's part in where we wound up has been extremely important in rebuilding trust. And because of that work to rebuild the trust, it's much easier to engage because we can get past the well, this happened, and we can just get back to work. And I really have to give you guys credit for that because that's a hard thing to do.
I second that.
Yeah, and the other thing I notice is, at least like with Norm, you and Eli, I mean, you guys were part of the ones that built trust the first go around, and now you're back. And so, thinking back to, 08, 2010, before NI kind of shifted, you guys are the ones that helped build LabVIEW to what it is today. And so the fact that you're back in these seats driving the future forward also lends a lot to that trust that Alan was mentioning. So
one other quick comment before Norm goes.
Yeah.
Tim, in the interest of rebuilding trust, I told you that you would see me in an ugly Christmas sweater, and you still haven't. I realize
No, I
that.
haven't.
So I'm going to go get that right now.
I forgot about that.
Go get your ugly Christmas sweater while Norm is sharing some additional thoughts.
So Eli
Norm,
leaves us minus 30 points, right?
Norm, you probably have the best job at NI right now, and the most envied job, and maybe the most challenging job. So fill us in a little bit more on what you've seen in 2024 you want to celebrate.
Let's see, make sure. All right, I'm out there. The celebration ends up being it's a celebration, and it's also a fear of mine. A celebration of we're making that NI at the core, obviously based on everybody's feedback here, has our beloved. Excuse me.
Of course, it's
What
Star
is
Trek.
that thing on there? What's
It's a
the
Star
little
Trek.
white thing?
Star Trek.
Nice.
Oh, Star Trek. Oh my gosh, that's so bad.
You're in a room of Trekkies, don't you know that?
I'll save you guys for my Bucky's t-shirt.
I was gonna say, should I just stop and just let you out?
We gotta describe this for the people who are listening.
On the audio only?
Oh gosh, yeah, no, audio only is not a.
Yeah. Eli literally ran off screen. He grabbed a sweater that's a Christmas sweater. It's red with some snowflake decorations for the collar, but it also has a Star Trek symbol on it. So he's a red shirt.
Communicator badge.
Which means he'll be dead by the end of the episode.
No.
That's the pattern of Next Generation, and in Next Generation, red became the command color.
So, some of us were old
but
enough
it's still a Christmas sweater.
Watch those episodes when they came out live. Anyhow, we're all
just had to rebuild trust with Tim. I told him I failed him on the last champion.
Rebuild trust. Rebuild trust. All
right,
so there we go.
Norm has the best job at NI.
Yes.
Norm,
I think the twist in the great part is that there's been trust. The potential fear that kind of comes along with the fact that we're making the right calls is it the desire to make it sustainable and make it continuous. And I think everybody's looking at us as hey, okay, we've given you the chance to walk back in the house. How are you going to do? And folks like Eli, myself, Sergio, and the rest of the leadership really is all in line of, let's what do we need to do that is feasible and going to make the best impact? Because there's no lack of let's I use some pretty morbid analogies usually in terms of kittens, but there's enough struggling kittens out there, mewing kittens, we'll call them mewing kittens. There's enough mewing kittens that all need attention and love, and there's no lack of good ideas, but there is the ability to choose the wrong things, right? And that's the twist. Is like there's a lot of things we can do. Like I love doing hands-on with individuals, with teams, but I also love my family. And I'm going to go out of business at my house if I try to index too far in one individual area. So trying to amplify things is going to be the most important, but it's what's to amplify. Like the CTI, love it. I love the idea. I love flagging it. I love advocating for it internally. But is it going to be the thing that is, would my time have been better spent elsewhere? But in the name of, yes, my job is to make, to drive attention to all the cool stuff that we have done to the world that basically LabVIEW's had a bit of a vacuum as of recently, right? There's a variety of people we keep going back and forth of this competition against, the freeness and the wonderfulness that all Python is. But the reality is there's plenty of people out there in the world that just haven't heard of LabVIEW whereas they would have before. That LabVIEW, indeed, much like for most of us, has resonated. Why did we jump on LabVIEW? It's like, because it just clicked for us.
Yeah,
and so
Python's not that great for instrumentation. We'll talk about that one a little bit later because that's kind
exactly. So there's
before we go into what we want in 2025, we got to talk about projects. But before we do that, I think Jean-Luc had his hand up.
Nah. Picard.
All right.
Yeah, that's why I have this haircut.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So projects. All right. So tons of excitement for 2024. And we'll be able to talk about 2025 in a moment. So let's shift a little bit since we got Tim's entire list out, which was great. I don't think we missed anything. I'm sure we missed something.
I went through it all, so.
Excellent. All right. I'm sure somebody listening is like, but you guys didn't talk about such and such. So, all right. Bring it up in January.
I only put it together in like 10 minutes. Come on.
I'm sure we missed something, but
projects. So, we want to talk about what have been your favorite. Oh, before we go into projects, Steve, did we have a winner of anybody here with regards to points?
Not over yet.
No.
Ideas?
No, I'm marking all the way through.
Okay, all the way through. Excellent. Okay.
But I think it's between Norm and Alan at the moment.
Excellent. Norm and Alan.
Or
I'm going for negatives.
So I was hanging out, dorking around on LinkedIn, and that's probably why I was a little bit late to join my peers here. But it was great because Karsten Thompson, who's a former VP of R&D from way back in the Blue days, posted this video. It's this awesome video of a SpaceX Dragon docking for the first time with the International Space Station. This is like 2012. And for those that don't know it, LabVIEW Mission Control sitting up there in Hawthorne, displaying everything that's going on. And so it was great to see that old video because when we had NI days, which we have again, and developer days, I remember showing that video and it drove a lot of enthusiasm. And for me, I've got to put down my favorite project still, bar none, having been in sales and seeing a lot of things, cool things, wacky things, has got to be LabVIEW as mission control at SpaceX. LabVIEW does a variety of other things at SpaceX. You can go scroll around on LinkedIn if you want to find out what those are. So that's still my favorite project. And I'm hoping that somebody here will knock that down with a better project. So, or maybe LabVIEW's controlling all of the new enterprise, but who knows?
So I have one that's on the completely other side of the spectrum.
Excellent.
Which is ironic because to your point earlier, spent a lot of time working with customers building really large, complex systems, and that's very much like, something. I in the world of T&M, I'm very much a software guy. Unlike Norm, like I love thinking about software architecture and software design, software engineering, all that fun stuff, and I leave the finesse of getting signals right to an expert like Norm. But this year, I think I'm personally very enthralled by the work of Revodyne, which is a small Austin-based company that's a former NI executive, Dave Wilson. And oh my gosh, I'll go grab one here in a minute. They're in my bag. But they're these small mini systems that he used to 3D print. Now he's on the contract manufactured, and they're VESA-based devices that are powered on USB-C. And in the spirit of community re-engagement and re-engagement with academia, obviously these hobbyist platforms, Arduino, Raspberry Pi, et cetera, are CTI are all really enticing. I love what the CTI team is doing, and I really like these systems because, like, you look at them and there's these very tangible mechanical things that students can touch, feel, and use, and they're really easy to just plug into your laptop and begin programming.
Describe what they do, what they're simulating.
Yeah, so there's one that's a generator, and you can do PID control and load it up and like try to coerce it to the set point. You can have a photovoltaic sensor on a servo, a turbine. You're trying to optimize the wind speed. So you can build literally these miniature systems that interact with each other and program it all with LabVIEW. And so I personally got involved with writing a software framework to help him deliver curriculum and to like debug and set up these systems and make sure they're working and see the command set and all these things that then can launch the curriculum that he and a few other folks are writing. And if you know Tim Cannon, the guy who launched that awesome YouTube channel, Cannon Controls, he actually then wrote kind of a higher level DAC-like API on top of the VESA calls that we're now using. So it's like this, it's a really cool mechanical system now paired with a growing portfolio of curriculum and some of these higher level APIs and the software that I helped write to actually debug and set them up. And the hope is that, well, for a lot of NI-led initiatives, we're going to show our compact DAC and stuff. But there's a lot of students who aren't going to buy a compact DAC, and there's a lot of universities where they may not have access to a fleet of them. Can we provide them something like these systems, which retail for under $100 a pop, and they're just really portable and fun to use, and I'm just excited for what that can do to help encourage a new generation of students. As Norm knows, we did some pilots with them here at UT Austin, and the students were really excited to get their hands on them and use them. I'll go grab one when somebody else is talking here in a minute so I can show them.
And it's funny that I actually downstairs, because I recently moved and went through every single box of every single thing that I've owned that I have one that goes back like maybe 20 years where all, you had the generator and the wind turbine, everything on one block.
One of his prototypes when he was still at NI,
this goes back at least 10 to 12 years. So yeah. Outstanding. No need to go grab them, but if you want to, go grab it. I love that because, we're not going to be able to launch rockets until we just understand talking to hardware, understanding basic control, just getting our hands on using the best software on the planet for interfacing to hardware. It's not Python, it's LabVIEW.
It's LabVIEw, yeah.
Tim,
don't leave that ambiguous.
What is your favorite project?
Oh man, I've been involved in so much. It's hard to pin down it. Well, CTI is very exciting. I've been doing a lot of cleanup for that. I need to get into the repository. So that I've been having fun with that one. Probably the one I'm most proud of right now is right after the GOA summit, I released I call it a Quickformat. So it started out as a format numeric quick drop plugin, and then Darren Nanninger got hold of it. It's like, hey, can you do this with it, or can you do this with it? And so for like a week, we had a lot of back and forth, and I just re-released this as Quickformat. So you can basically take any numeric, any string, and even timestamps, and you could give it a format, like a format string, and it right now it's 5 because percent. I use the percent because that's how you start their formatting. So control percent in the quick drop, and then it just formats everything for you. So it's a tool I've been using for 10 plus years at least. I use it in all my GUIs and whatnot. So it's been extremely helpful for that. So I was very happy to get that released. So that's probably going to be at the top of my list
in our chat so that we can have the link available for our viewers.
Yeah, I can do that.
Norm seems to like that. Awesome.
I say Darren swore by it when he started using it. So
excellent. Well, if Darren gives it thumbs up, then yeah, it means it's solid.
Already got you, Tim.
Sam, you've done some coaching.
Yep, cool.
And a few other things.
So yeah, my favorite project this year, probably more for personal reasons than like, oh, cool LabVIEW stuff. But I've been coaching this team in India, and we've been meeting once a week, and it's really rewarding. To me, the biggest thing is when I first started out there, they would bring me problems that they had with their code, and they had no idea where to start. And now they bring me problems with their code, and they're like, and I'm like, well, what do you think we should do? And their answer is usually spot on, or it's pretty close. And I ask them a few probing questions, and then they refine it. And so I'm very excited for that. I think just watching them learn and grow, and just kind of absorbing that thought process of like how the process by which we write software, I think is really great. So.
That's fantastic. And
Yeah.
it's great for anyone who's coming into the LabVIEW community, like in the last couple of years, or future people in the LabVIEW community. I mean, we were first a fledgling community back in the early 90s. We're trying to figure out what's the best way to use LabVIEW, and what would be a good design pattern. And now anybody coming on board, there's this huge swath of mentors out there, yourself, everybody else in this phone call, to guide these kids, and kind of norm to your fear a little bit of, okay, how do we keep making all these things going? It really is about us kind of collaborating in a way that we can all be as efficient as possible in coaching others as they're coming on board, and pursuing the fun things that we want to build as well. So speaking of building things,
I want to add something. I'm going to interrupt. So one of the things that Sam also pushes for, since we're talking about this kind of things, is approval testing, and recently came out with the icon editor that we need to do a massive refactoring process. So we instantly said, no, we need to look into approval testing. So I thought Sam would like to hear about that.
I didn't know that. So yes.
Yeah, that happened this last Thursday. And
maybe that should have been my favorite project. Yeah, the PowerShell scripts that they've been working on, that Sergio has been leading the charge on, I think are pretty, they're awesome, both for the impact of automated acceptance, but also because the whole premise and the goal is that his work is something that anyone working in a large-scale LabVIEW project, not even large-scale, but something where you have to collaborate with other people and want these types of tools, can then leverage and reuse.
So Eli, I want to pick back up on that in our C block too. So that's a good 2025 topic.
All right,
I do have
Sam.
to add on what Tim said about doing open source projects. I've been working on this auto formatter, and that has also been quite
blue.
And to Eli's point too, I've done a lot around testing it and making sure it's really robust, and that's been a huge learning experience, and I've gained a lot from that. So, yeah.
So how does your auto formatter? So Tim, you have your format. So.
Well, no, we're talking different things here.
Formatter is different. Yeah, Tim's is for formatting the way a control looks on the front panel.
Okay.
And or constants probably on the block diagram.
Yep.
Mine is more about if you've used the Natify tool, that's kind of what I started with. So it like rearranges some things on the block diagram, resizes
the diagram cleanup.
Got it.
Yeah, it's not quite diagram cleanup, but it's diagram cleanup if it worked well. More or less. Sorry, yeah.
Work on tuning your parameters.
Got it. All right, Mark, I've talked a little bit about, or kind of lead in that you guys at G-Power, you have some fun stuff going as it relates to Test Stand and some of your tools. You want to share a little bit about the project that you and Steen have been working on. And for those that don't know Steen is another rock star in this community, been very involved. In fact, I think Steen was at the very, very first CLA summit, first or second CLA summit in Austin.
Yeah.
You the one jumping up and down on tables, Nancy, or is that somebody else?
That was Norm jumping up on tables.
Norm.
Okay.
When Justin was presenting, and Steen told Justin, well, that's how user events actually work. So that became a fun little moment.
I miss Justin. Just put it out there for Christmas. I miss Justin.
Justin, we miss you. Come back.
Yeah, come back. Do LabVIEW.
Before we get too off track, Mark.
Yeah, sure. We've been working on a bunch of different things when it comes to test stand, both toolkits and other stuff. But just now we are working on a new update to our test stand user interface, which is called Smart UI. And basically it's the first project that I'm actually working together with Steen on and like programming together on the solution. So that's pretty exciting. It should be somewhat ready for release in just a couple of months during next year. So looking very much forward to that. yeah, but also all sorts of different things in regards to test stand frameworks and for different kind of companies and optimizations all around for streamlining things in the productions and yeah, overall just getting a lot of performance increases for the operators that use the test facilities for testing and so yeah, I think that's been the primary for me success for 2024. So yeah, and hopefully yeah, next year a lot of awesome things also. Yeah,
So I'm gonna ask you to dive in just a tad bit more because I like
Mhm.
where you're talking about, you guys are being very intentional in working with your customers and the operators and the people that are actually making products,
Yeah.
and leveraging the software that you've delivered for them and really listening to what they need as far as being more efficient in their jobs. So if you
Yeah.
want to speak to that a little bit more, or even speak to some of the one or two key features that you're excited about with Smart UI.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different things going into that, but primarily, yeah, it is about the feedback from the customers, but also having the correct mindset when you're then developing software components in general, so you can actually reuse things and don't make like a specialized thing for that customer and another specialized thing for that customer, because then you would never get around to actually creating any products overall. So it's a huge mindset to have when you're developing applications, both for the customers, but also in general using instrument drivers and whatnot you can develop. So for that specifically, yeah, you have to kind of figure out how to do things and use the right technologies. So yeah, within that we have used a lot of time on optimizing our workflow in regards to the VI package deployment and creation inside T-Power, and are now looking into a bunch of different things when it comes to the creation of PPLs and building those things and automating a lot of stuff in that regard. When it comes to Smart UI itself, it's like an updated version of you can say how the operator should interact with a test system with a lot smarter graphics and kind of guided operations also. Some of the parts there will also be some ways of interacting with the UI from test stand itself to make it modify its behavior depending on what the operator needs for that specific test or where they are currently in the progress of the testing the unit, but sometimes it's not also just about test. Test stand can also be used for a lot of different things, like if they then have to package the unit afterwards, so they can kind of do guided operations in regards to packaging. So yeah, we use test stand for a lot of stuff when it comes to our customers, and we think it's very easy to actually do a lot of those things using just test stand and the whole deployment process that test stand offers for both production environment, of course, but also for systems like packaging or end configuration of a specific unit. If you need some kind of specialized software on that, then test stand can do all of your needs when it comes to that. So user interface that's very flexible and a good way of customizing things for what the customers needs across different production sites.
I think that sounds fantastic. And Steve and Sam, in 2025, when we highlight some projects that people have been working on and part of it for our customers really is learning what you guys are capable of and what Smart UI in conjunction with Test Stand is capable of. I think it'd be fantastic for our audience, like in March or April sometime.
Yeah, looking
Great.
very much forward to sharing about that. So yeah.
Fantastic. Alan, what's your favorite project from the year?
I am going to go very small here. This is going to go right to personal satisfaction and the joy of exercising my craft. So I will actually be sharing the thing that I've been working on later, hopefully. Well, I will be sharing it in some capacity at some point. But I, at this point in my career and just where I am, I'm a sole proprietor and I'm working out of my home office, right? And I have just been for the last few years working on what most people would consider fairly small projects for fairly small customers. Okay. So nothing really glamorous. Sometimes I look at, my friends at SpaceX and I go, man, I'm not working on like the big, cool engineering stuff. And then they tell me about what their work-life balance is like. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to be where I am doing what I'm doing. But so, I'm sure that anybody that has ever seen me talk about this has heard me complain bitterly about how I'm constantly rewriting test stand for somebody, right? Well, this actually involves essentially rewriting test stand, which, please, for the love of God, if you're listening to this, don't do it. However, for a variety of reasons, and Derry Nattinger actually reminded me that there's a lot of reasons why you might want to do sequencing and not make the test stand investment. Okay, cool. My don't rewrite test stand came from a project that I did at NI where I had to rewrite test stand for an environment where they couldn't use it. There was a core idea that I took away from about 5 years ago. One of my long-standing but not very large customers, we were starting to look at test stand. We hit a barrier. He wasn't excited about test stand to begin with. He's like, Alan, I just need a sequencer. So I took this idea from NI and I wrote him a little sequencer, and it's actor framework based, and it's all data flow. I mean, I'm totally just geeking out on writing LabVIEW code here, guys. That's it. That's all this is about. It's actor framework based. It's pure data flow. I realize there's not a lot of daylight between doing test steps and doing state management, right? So that's what the fundamental idea. And I wrote this sequencer for this customer, and I thought, well, cool. I have this great idea, and maybe I could do something with it down the road. I kept asking, anytime you're ready for this next bit of flow control or whatever, I can write it for you. Well, he's never gotten around to it. My agreement with that customer lets me recycle code that's of general use and not something specific to him. Well, this year, I'm doing some work for another customer. They want a LabVIEW-based sequencer for all the same reasons. They don't want to make a test stand investment. I said, hey, I had this idea from this other customer and stuff that I've already done for him that I can use. What I want from you is anything that's general, I want to put back into this with the idea that I'm just building up this general rescope, which, by the way, I have no intention of monetizing. It's not a market I want to be in. I don't want to do product maintenance for the next 10 years. So I'm never going to sell it, but I want to be able to share it. Great, Alan, knock yourself out. So for about the last 4 months, I have been working on this. I'm calling it the actor sequence engine, just a little sequencer built on top of actor framework. Sequences are actors. Test steps are children of that. It's cool. I've got flow control. I've got about half my data types that I can manage. I have some other things built in. Here's my little simple operator interface for running test steps, and you can see the test steps go through. And I'm taking all the things that I need. Oh, I need a watch window for looking at variables as they change. All these features in test stand that I'm telling people not to rewrite on their own, but I'm having an awful lot of fun just doing them myself. And I will eventually share it to the community. I'm going to pitch to the GDev cons as one of a couple of possible presentations. Not here's my cool product that you should use, but here's how I did it. Right? And the code's available. If you can use it, great. If you can steal the idea, you can't steal what I give you for free, but just cool. And I have just been so enjoying that deep dive on it's not tied to customer specific things, which are and it's great to solve a specific cost problem for a customer, but it's always great to solve a general problem. And I've just been having a lot of fun with it. It's exciting to sit down at the keyboard. Darren Nattinger talks about the endorphin hit from the little perk that he gets, the neurochemical perk that he gets from writing good LabVIEW code. And I have just been getting a lot of that doing this. Not big, not flashy, not going to rock your world, not a high glamour project, but it really goes to the core joy of why I do what I do. And
yeah,
that's my favorite project.
The creator piece. And I'm willing to bet that a spaceflight company picks it up and runs with it, and then it will be glamorous.
Oh, please, dear God, do this long after I'm retired and able to be dragged into court for a liability claim.
All right.
But
I
yeah,
love
it's cool.
that. And I love your enthusiasm, and I look forward to learning more about it at a GLA summit. I think, Alan, what you do is you kind of stagger which of the GDev cons do you want to go to, and then you just kind of have a series of sessions built around this, so that you're not repeating each GDev con, but you're able to leverage this, and there's going to be so much that we can learn from you and what you've done here.
I try to bring whatever cool thing I've done that I think is neat. If I'm not teaching you how to do something, you look at whatever I've done for what I've done. That's cool. I'm hoping in my presentations that you have learned to do something.
Right. There's a practical takeaway. I love that. Yeah. I love your enthusiasm. Yeah. Yep. The dopamine hit on the great ideas. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Steve, what about you? Project CTI?
I can go from tiny to massive. I think that's how I'm.
So he's done a lot more than just CTI.
Yeah, so I've had to concentrate on
our
work
project that somebody else has done that you think is really cool.
So I've been from the CTI. I've been doing lots of sort of smallish systems on embedded systems, and that's what interests me. So I've been enjoying those. So it's very lightweight sort of platforms, and I'll talk about in 2025 my direction for that. So I've been really enjoying that. We've churned out a couple of systems now that are sort of Linux based on tiny little computers that cost nothing. So they've been very good. One of those was a cryo controller, another one was a high voltage harness tester, both embedded systems, both instruments essentially, which were really nice. And the other one I've done is emulating 150 million pounds worth of digitizers in racks. And that all came good a couple of weeks ago, which obviously it was quite a difficult.
Emulating how many digitizers again?
It's 43 racks of 17 digitizers in each rack. I think 17, is that right? Yeah, it's 30. It was. The project is to acquire the data from them all synchronized and put it in a database every 30 seconds, then reset, do again, reset, do again. So I had to build all of that emulated, because obviously that's a lot of money's worth of simulators, and when you're dealing in scale like that, the user interfaces become quite complex and the communication becomes quite complex, and you get things like, when they auto connect, they start to slow down, all these kind of nasty distributed system problems that you have to work through, and you have to do it. And yeah, it was going back to Alan's perspective, it was joyful for a distributed system when they start talking freely, when all the bits talk to each other and they don't slow down and it's a real sit back and you think, you know what, I'm an actual proper programmer. I've done proper programming. And some guys who witnessed it said that this is the biggest emulated system they've ever seen. I mean, when I say I emulate a PXI rack, it is all of the same software that I would put on a PXI rack. It's a pure emulation down to the data, which is just a random number. So there's no cheating. It was all on virtual machines, all on Linux. So. And that was astonishingly performant as well. So I had one big, very expensive VMware server that was running all of these Linux instances, which are emulating these racks. So that was cool. So there's a lot of new things I was learning as well, which I like. So yeah, it was big stuff. So that's my small to big.
Were these a FlexRio system that you're emulating?
Yeah, that's an added. Yeah, it was a 5774 FlexRio digitizers.
Yeah, just to make sure I got the numbers right, 43 racks of 17 digitizers each.
Yeah, so it was approaching 1400.
Yeah, definitely.
I think actually I may have been shy of a couple. I think I got bored, so in the end I got to about 38 racks.
Wow.
But that was all. I mean, it all
bigger
auto
than
starts.
controlling one little sensor from the Revidyne. That is fantastic. And so, Steve, I've been able to kind of sit on the sidelines and watch that enthusiasm. And again, and that's what we love about being engineers. And there is no better language than LabVIEW for communicating to hardware. So part of one of my projects I was working on for a brief period of time is I was communicating with instrumentation with Python and learning a lot of stuff from the Python perspective, actually in the lab, talking to instruments, which was great. And there's just no comparison. There's a little bit of a lift to learn LabVIEW and think in data flow. And once you're there is no better tool to interface to hardware to be able to see your data and manipulate your data. There's just no comparison. So on that note, having just provided another ad for NI, Norm, what about you? Favorite project? Is there, you covered a lot already. And any particular projects that you've seen or anything else that you're working on that you haven't shared yet?
Let's see. I need to know. Actually, one of the ones that I saw was when I was at UT San Antonio. And it was a system, and it was like one of these great examples and a terrible example all at once. I think we've all seen different instances of this. And they're working like on a hypersonics wind tunnel, which seems really strange. Like, how can you possibly make something going faster than the speed of sound in a typical wind tunnel? And what they do is they basically drive this massive vacuum into a very large chamber, and there's a tube connected to it. And in the middle of that tube, there's a metal plate that has a bit of a scoring on it. And basically, they suck the air out of this chamber to the degree when all of a sudden the metal just bursts open in this, along the crosshatch, boom, and it creates this hypersonic, I believe, to some degree, laminar flow. I don't even know how it's laminar, of just air across whatever surface or material or whatever it is. And it was such a very great, just having been in the RF space and working. All the things I've been doing are not as important, but the idea of getting out there, seeing things, and really getting into this idea of not only this like hypersonics wind tunnel where they're just doing such interesting things, but also you could kind of see their mental model of how they went from, well, I've got 5 channels, now I have 50, and kind of the sprawl that happens out of that when there's not a lot of kind of guidance towards, the coding principles that lead to better, more sustainable code over time. So it's just so interesting to just see, once again, see it in the wild, seeing it being used for something, of course, non-RF now, and just seeing the enthusiasm that people have when they were actually applying it, and it allowed them to just get going faster. So that was just, like I said, that was a pretty flashy way. And then another, at the same location, they were using laser controls to do kind of spectroscopy of chemicals in the air. And that was a pretty interesting and important thing to be able to see, is just realizing that people are using the platform, the hardware, and the software to just create stuff that doesn't exist in the world, right? We're not just creating the next web page, right?
Yeah.
We're not just creating the next thing that just logs the pressure of a whatever. It ends up being really pushing the boundaries. Now, LabVIEW is not unique in that dimension, of course, and but there's a dimension of that I just found so appealing to kind of reconnect with, that I just wish I could, drive and amplify in such a way that really it lit people's brains off. And so.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a fun one. I'm hearing that from you. I kind of I've seen some interesting things this year. Like even when I taught the CTI course at CU Boulder and their integrated teaching and learning lab, so exciting. All of the different projects that everyone was working on. And when we did some coding challenges, so exciting to see how people had a different philosophy on how they were approaching something, and then the rationale behind their philosophy. I think these students at the wind tunnel, they maybe kind of hired Steve to help them with their scaling up to 1,500 digitizers or something along those lines. But yeah, I think I'm filing away for 2025. Definitely ways to really amplify the excitement. Real quickly, because we're getting a little bit close to the top of the hour here, which doesn't really mean anything for someone who is randomly listening, downloading this and listening. Eli, if you have a real quick project, and then we're going to roll into our C block and do a quick round robin on what we want to see in 2025, and then have question number 4.
I mentioned the Revidyne software earlier in the systems, but I did want to comment. I mean, I think so. I've already kind of given my project, but I wanted to pile on something Norm said, which when I reflect on why I've been at MI almost 20 years, I think it's the fact that you know, our customers are not building toasters, or at least not simple ones, not the ones in your kitchen. You know, as Norm said.
Some
That's
are.
not true.
Said,
That's not true.
Sometimes
Some
they
are
are.
building
Fine.
toasters.
Spectrum is.
I knew you guys were going to say that.
Toasters need
Generally
tested too.
speaking, okay, fair.
I mean, I know somebody
Generally
was
speaking,
testing carpet fibers, Eli. So
generally speaking, the stuff our products is really good at is novel, unique, niche, and often pushing the limits of technology.
Yeah.
And so I think that's usually a common thread. Not to say there aren't exceptions, and not to say toasters can't be cool, because I'm sure there's Wi-Fi controlled toasters now which do need testing. So I take my point back.
If they are cool, then they're broken.
So I just wanted to echo, like, I think the common thread across all the industries and applications we work with is just how often unique, novel, and like cutting edge they are, which I feed on that. You know, the guy wearing the Star Trek shirt a second ago, and with, you know,
Here's a good-looking guy.
overly automated home system. Like, I just love technology. I love automation. You find that at the fringes of like the new, exciting, never before done stuff. And, you know, the fact that our products play there, you can't really find that anywhere else, at least not as consistently.
I will say, so yes, absolutely. I love the fact that I'm not doing what all the other developers I know are doing for a living. And it was really cool. I was at Spectrum. I was there for a user group meeting as I happened to be in town. And we were getting a little tour of the place. It was extraordinarily cool to walk past somebody's cube, the product owner, look on his desk and see the prototype for my beard trimmer. That, I mean, just the
For your what?
headlamp, my beard trimmer.
Beard trimmer. It's a thing. You don't need to worry.
Yeah, you gotta have a beard, right? But my beard trimmer is sitting on his desk, and I'm like, that's the product owner for a thing that I have in my home that I didn't even know came from here, and LabVIEW had a hand in testing that.
We did some really interesting test systems for Gillette. Really interesting. They had an instrumented razor blade. Fully instrumented,
cool.
So that it could pull and work out the load as it went through. It was. I will dispute the mundane things. I mean, when you were talking about the toaster tester, Eli, I was thinking, oh, that could be a vision system, and I could be looking at the elements as they heat up and doing comparative.
You know what?
I'm thinking resistance measurements and temperature measurements.
Go to Eli's point, though.
All right,
I'm circling back to Eli's point.
See, we're geeks.
I'm gonna bring everybody. I'm gonna wrap up this section.
I love toasters. I hope someone.
I'm gonna wrap up this section, and since Steve misses Justin, I miss Justin and popcorn tweets. So you know, maybe we can come.
I forgot about that project.
Popcorn tweets at some point. All right. Round robin. I'm going to call on you guys as you show up on my screen, and this is going to be what do you really want within LabVIEW for 2025? What is your big 2025 ask? Steve Watts.
I have a list.
Well, the things I'm most excited about are two things to do with the CTI, funnily enough, and that's we're going to get I2C as part of our visa overlay. And that's going to make a massive, profound difference to the type of projects we can do.
There's plans for SPI as well.
If we can get PicoWs as well, that will be massive. So if we can get little distributed Picos on systems, the stuff we can do there will just be unbelievable. And the vision stuff I'm working on, I'm very excited about. So I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited about being able to finalize my LabVIEW in a box idea. I still think there's a lot of benefit to being actually have a very small system with LabVIEW on it. So that's my personal ones. The world of LabVIEW, I just want it to keep trundling on in the same vein as it did this year, to be quite honest with you. I'm very happy, and I don't think I'm clever enough to be able to predict where it's going to take us. I think there's very interesting things afoot, and I think every interesting thing, every win we make branches to more potential things that we can win on. So I think all the industrial communication stuff, that's going to make a whole different world for us.
Yeah, I think with Emerson backing NI part of Emerson, I think there's a lot we haven't seen yet that's going to be really fun in the future. At least that's my supposition. Tim,
yeah, I want my playground to be bigger.
Yeah, bigger playgrounds.
That's bigger playgrounds.
Bigger playgrounds.
More people to play with.
Yeah.
I was about to make that same comment, Norm.
Yeah. So, Tim, what are you excited about for 2025 or a wish for 2025?
Oh my goodness, there's so much happening that's hard to keep track of.
We're going to go real quickly through all these.
I know at the moment, getting to work on the actual icon editor. I mean, I initially joined in just because I was more interested in the process, make sure the process was good. And now I'm at the point where I actually want to get into the code and start making it a better product. So with that, my ultimate wish for LabVIEW in general, I mean, this is a long-term one, but basically anything written in G, so anything in the IDE that's written in G should be open source. That was my ultimate wish.
Let the bits be free.
Exactly.
And I would add to that as much new stuff that can be written in LabVIEW is.
Exactly. So yeah, anything that doesn't need actual C-level work, make it open source. That should be the ultimate goal. And NI is making those headways. So I'm seeing new repositories come up. So it's a matter of which repositories are next, and then we as a community need to step up and actually help with that development as well. So at the moment, I'm very much looking for that one. I'm also interested in seeing how we go at CTI. I want to get more involved in CTI, get stuff cleaned up and released, and make it more presentable, make the code more presentable. We might want to think about how many layers of abstractions we have for things and whatnot. So there's a lot of work being happening. Where the GID Exchange group is going to go with next, I don't know. I think that there's a lot of interesting possible work out of that. So there's so much happening that as a community, we're doing very well. I think we're heading in the right directions, and I think NI is heading in the right direction. I wish there was more of a long-term look of where NI wants things to be. Because right now we just say, every once in a while we say, oh, here's these 6 things we're focusing on. I was like, okay, well, what about 10 years from now? Where do you want things to be? I wish we had a little more visibility into that.
I will wrap this section up with a comment on 10 years.
Okay.
So, Alan.
I do real quick. I put a link to Tim's call to arm of getting people to contribute. I put a link in the description for people who are interested, so they can see the contribution guidelines and gauge how and
also if you get on the LabVIEW Discord, there's actually a channel that gets the GitHub updates for the icon editor.
Awesome. Sorry for interrupting that right there, Alan. 25. Excited about, wish, whatever.
So I'm with Steve. He and I are going to get together. We are going to crack open our favorite frosty beverages, pop some popcorn, and I think enjoy the show for the next year and see what comes out. I'm going to see as much of it as I can and see where the next great ideas come from. I don't have a specific thing that I'm looking for.
Sam.
Yeah, I've got 2 things. One, kind of like Alan and Steve, I'm just kind of watching. I want to see if NI can keep up the momentum and keep up all the same actions that they've been doing, and hopefully maybe add some new ones and surprise us with some cool new stuff that they're going to do to engage with the community. And I'm hoping that will bring the market back, because I've definitely noticed a downturn in terms of the consulting market recently. So hopefully that picks back up. And then the other thing I want to see is more mobbing and pairing. Tim mentioned pairing or mobbing on the some of the open source stuff that they're doing for GID Exchange. I really like that. So those are my couple things.
There's rumors we're going to do Blue next. I don't know if that's true or not, though.
Yeah, it's actually at a point. I'm getting to a point where there's a bunch of stuff that I want to add. So there's definitely some room for that. I wanted to do some major architectural changes before I started adding a bunch of features. So
yeah, that's another one of those projects I want to get involved in. I just have too many other things happening.
Yeah, Tim, you don't have a lot going on. Tim, do you actually have a family? Do you have a wife?
Yes, in fact, I have one I have a child that's about to turn 2 on me. So
Wow.
I will
Wow.
say, Tim, you can contribute with ideas if you have ideas for cool things. Just throwing out the ideas because I've got a bunch, but there's probably a lot more cool ideas out there for features. So
True.
Awesome. Eli, excited for 2025 or wishes for 2025?
So I'm going to be doing, I mean, my brain goes in two directions. All the engagements I'm going to have with customers and the product, right? So I'm excited to get out there and meet with a lot of customers. I'm booking airfare right now. But in terms of like feature investments, I mean, there's a lot that we're trying to get done. There's a lot that we really want to move the needle on. I'm staring at a slide right now, and just to rattle off a few, I mean, we need to keep the investment in PPLs. We need to improve the user experience. We're going to staff up our ability and capacity for ID exchange investments. Finally, work on Unicode is the plan, at least. More seriously, understand the implications and advent of ARM silicon and the future of our platform. Really reinvest in the platform, inclusive of RT, FPGA. I think reintegrate industrial protocols was mentioned earlier. Continue our acceleration of CI/CD workflows and all the infrastructure and tooling that surrounds those. Of course, AI is a recurrent theme and a focus of investment. So those are just some. Of course, also continuing to expand our open source efforts once we demonstrate the success and the impact of those. I think there's a lot in the queue that we'd like to get to. So that's my quick brain dump, just for the sake of time.
I like it. Mark, you had some really exciting comments, for instance, on the performance improvements from LabVIEW 2024 Q3. What are you excited about for 25 or a wish list item?
Yeah, besides all the things that have been mentioned, I think the biggest thing could be that the year 2024 was the year we got to a newer release of LabVIEW. So perhaps 2025 could be the year that we actually switch fully over to 64-bit LabVIEW integration. So that could be perhaps a major thing. But yeah, industrial protocols is definitely big on the to-do list. Hopefully we will get some very nice things there. Yeah, I think that's it.
Since you mentioned 64-bit, I'll tell you that I just moved from 2019 32-bit to 2024 64-bit, and I haven't had any issues other than I have to redo all my PPLs.
There you go. Norm, excited?
So I've got
or
a couple different things. One, to piggyback on of something to see come out of the community, is one of them was kind of mob programming, but there's a thing called what we've done so far was I think relatively more niche in terms of top level VI, whatever. But I think there's a VI peak tool in the GIG exchange where everybody complains about how many windows you get in LabVIEW as you drive down the hierarchy just to get to the thing you need. Like somebody created the thing, made it public and open source, but it's still sitting and needing attention. It's like such a great thing that just needs the last mile that could probably leverage that would benefit everybody. Like everybody that opens up anything. I'm so confused why it hasn't gotten more attention and not enough people know about. Once again, it's just like you can drill down with one window and then open up just the VI of interest, which is pretty cool. That there's but something that's maybe bigger. I'm gonna go with the feels on this one in terms of 2025 is the community feels as though everybody's talking about the NI and the feeling of NI at large, but it feels as though the community is really gaining traction and momentum in some pretty significant ways, which is such. I mean, of course, having been in the community, wanting more people to be enthusiastic about what we love. And then it's just a matter of, driving it home and making sure enough people that we make the community less clicky. Once again, we all say each other's names. We all know these things. I'm so grateful that Steve, you're doing this present with Nancy and others that, once again, we're getting the name so people know when they say Eli, there's a bajillion Elis in the world, but in the LabVIEW ecosphere, people know who the Eli reference refers to. But I think at the core of it, making sure that as new people come in, that we're directing them to the community. I think we're a little fractured right now because we've got Discord, we've got Lava, we've got the forums, so we've got to be careful on that. But to watch how we continue to evolve, to watch how we pay attention to the incoming people, and then once again finding those things that we know get people really excited. Everything from the simple LED to a servo moving to a laser guided whatever. I think that's going to be interesting to see the new bright eyes come in, as long as we can kind of continue to champion at large with large open arms and try to pull people in as much as we can.
I love that. And you gave me some ideas on something else that I have sticking in my back pocket that I will follow up with you on.
Could I put an extra shout out for Discord, and just if people aren't on the Discord, the LabVIEW Discord, the what happened the other day was a good case in point. Is Derek came on and said, "Oh, I'm just going to be doing some CTI stuff now," and he just opened up a little room in the Discord, and you could just join it, and you can talk, and you can watch, and you can, and it's kind
Sam's
of
been doing that for Advent of Code.
Yeah, and it's kind
like every
of
day he
made for
comes on,
us.
like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, and it's made for us visual programmers. That it's a very tactile way to deal with LabVIEW, and you can just be talking to someone and say, "Oh, I'll just show you," and you can hop in a room and do that, and just show people what's on your screen and all of that kind of stuff. It works really well, and it's built up quite a big community now. I think the LabVIEW one's got now about 400 people, and it's pretty active. It seems to me that if we were going to tie everything together, that's a good place to tie it.
Yeah, I am glad you mentioned that. And anyhow, I had a thought, but I'm going to hold that thought. So I specifically remember I created a little video, sent it to Ritu, and I said, Ritu, and I was at NNI at the time, I said, I think our goal should be within 10 years, LabVIEW is the go-to engineering tool go-to software tool for any engineer interfacing with hardware. So my big girl Christmas wish is I want to see the LabVIEW on the desk of every single engineer. Okay, that's not going to happen in 2025, but what I'm super excited about in 2025 is the academic space. And I'm hoping to have some time to be able to devote to the academic space, because I think that's absolutely critical and key to getting LabVIEW on the desk of every single engineer, so that, they may have learned Python, but they're like, I really need to be using LabVIEW. It's time for me to use LabVIEW. So that is kind of my grown-up Christmas wish. So as we round this out, probably take another 5 or 7 minutes here. First, I want to thank everyone for being here. But before we round this out, the last question I have for you guys is exactly that. So I live in this beautiful place called Tennessee, and there's a lot of really amazing musicians out here. And my favorite Christmas album of all times was Amy Grant's first Christmas album. There's a song on there, Your Grown-Up Christmas Wish. So you guys, I'm going to give you guys exactly 30 seconds, and then I'm going to kind of bounce around on who I see here. So I want to hear your grown-up Christmas wish, which could be LabVIEW related, or, it could have to do with, I don't know, it could have to do with anything. So I don't have any brilliant ideas at the moment, but grown-up Christmas wish, or how would you solve this crazy drone thing going on in the US right now with LabVIEW and NI Emerson hardware? So you can either solve the question is solve the drone problem with LabVIEW and NI Emerson hardware, or a grown-up Christmas wish, kind of like, I don't have one. I guess life is good that I don't have any wishes. By the way, Alan, LabVIEW is used for testing hair dryers and air wraps, just so you know. So I appreciate the beard trimmer. So Alan, I'm coming to you.
Also used for diapers.
You're the closest on this group to Santa right now. So what is a wish or a solution to the drone problem?
Well, my drone problem solutions are kinetic, and Tim tells me we can't do that. So I'm going to go with the grown up wish list. I have the white beard for a reason, guys. I'm starting to look ahead to retirement. I want a LabVIEW environment, a LabVIEW ecosystem that lets me work as much as I want for as long as I want, which is going to be pretty intense while we get my daughter through college, and then is going to taper off to something where I can maintain my interest, get that dopamine hit once in a while, and actually travel to cool places with my wife. And I want LabVIEW to be there and viable for all of that, so that I can enjoy that transition into sort of what's going to come next, and maybe just always be around for a little while as that old guy who knows all the old cool secrets.
I love it. Oh yeah, Norm, you're about to screw up the copyright strike thing with playing the song. All right.
False adverts on
Tim,
us.
and Alan, part of my wish is seeing more Megan at events and stuff, and maybe I don't for a couple of years
That's
in college.
gonna get scarce because she's gonna be off to college.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go find her in college then. Tim.
Yeah.
Well, my solution for the
Drones?
drones is a lot more destructive, we'll say. Giant EMPs.
I was going for kinetic instead of electromagnetic, but EM works too.
Oh man, I'm not very sure about Christmas wish at the moment. It's like I said, I got so much happening. I just time to actually concentrate on something would be my really wish at the moment.
Because you don't have time to concentrate on myriad things. I like it.
Yeah, because I have a bazillion things happening. It's like I got birthdays happening, I got Christmas, and I got a bunch of projects that are trying to finish up before the end of the year, and so it's like brain scattered. I'm trying to do a lot more with open source and whatnot. So it's like I can actually concentrate on one thing. That'd be very nice.
No, because you need to be involved in all these other things. But anyhow, but that is your wish.
I'm not saying I don't enjoy them. I like doing them. So that's why I am doing them. It is on my own free time that I'm doing a lot of stuff. But like in order to actually really get something done, it's like I gotta actually concentrate on it. So
yeah, that focus time. Eli.
My Santa's wish list is, I'll say 200 active, healthy, recurring user groups focused on LabVIEW. So I went big on that goal, right? I think we will have at least 100 very active, quarterly, healthy user groups. But if I'm on Santa's lab, let's double that, right? So let's go with 200.
Let's go with 200. Just give me your list of everyone using LabVIEW in Nashville, and I'll pony up one more for you.
There you go.
Yeah, that reminds me. I gotta get hold of Eli. I got a contact inside the right pat right now, so we're gonna try to get a user group going again.
And I am going into the new year with I'm building a team, so I'll have more capacity to help support and organize these user groups. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is, oh my gosh, that's great news. Okay, Mark, what is your Christmas wish or solution for the drone problem? As if you care about it.
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about. So
you're lucky.
Then that's a Christmas wish.
Just that way.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Yeah. So hopefully it would be something going on with the academic presence of NI, so you can get more LabVIEW developers all around. That would be great. That's something all of our customers is kind of craving, so they can kind of have their own LabVIEW specialists in-house, so they don't have to kind of call the consultancy businesses all the time. That would help us a lot to kind of have people and companies kind of invest more in NI in general and use that. So I think that's the biggest wish on my list for the next year. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah, we are kindred spirits on that academic piece. Norm.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Of course. Wish one number one is that we don't get copyright strikes because that's what was actually
probably small enough. We don't have to worry about
it. What is your wish?
So I've got an in product and out of product. If I could, once again, Eli gets his Santa's lap, so do I. Sounds weird. One of which is that the dream of having user groups held at universities and that concept be true. I really, that is in my mind as if we can make that happen, the most good will happen. It's through my own colored glasses, because that's really how I met Nark Bala and the rest of the LabVIEW community at large. It feels so like intrinsic to me. Like I just want to see it come to life and also not be good idea, but not enough. And so that's one aspect of it. And then I guess maybe the other one, I'll leave the simpler one out. I want the wisdom to know how to showcase LabVIEW the best in the face of people that either haven't seen it or have seen it and discarded it. and I don't know how to do that the best, and I just wish for wisdom on that front so that I can get the job done well and spend more time with my family.
Okay, Solomon.
Was that a wish or a prayer?
You're trying to work yourself out of a job. If you solve it, then you can spend more time with your family. All right, Sam.
Yeah.
Wish.
I would just love to have another coaching client like the one that I have. They're just really great, and I very much enjoy it. So, yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
I like that. Well, hopefully the word spreads and you do get a few more. I've got some names for you as well.
Cool.
All right. I will. So Eli, I'm going to double down. I got Knox and Nash. So I'll give you two user groups. Because I do get over to Knoxville fairly frequently. And
so do I. I'll see you there.
Yeah.
I got
So
family
the
there,
interesting,
yeah.
so the interesting part, Eli, is I was at Calhoun's, south of Knox. My husband and I are there. We're having dinner at the bar, drinking my glass of wine, and the bartender looks at I had a LabVIEW CLA kind of hoodie on. She's like, I really want one of those. And it's an ugly gray hoodie. There's nothing special about why would she want my ugly gray hoodie? Well, she learned LabVIEW at a technical college and is doing some data collection at TVA. So there is definitely some interest. And now you can get your Knoxville trip paid for by NI as you help spin up our Knoxville user group that is both academic and industry affiliated. This young lady's super
That's
excited.
awesome. That's a great story. My family and I love wakeboarding on TVA on Lake Tellico out there. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've got access to a boat, so which I'm sure you do too, since you're wakeboarding already. We'll have a boat party. All right, I digress. Yeah, that would be fun. That's on my list for 2025. More boat parties. Steve Watts, the master in of so many amazing things in the community. You've got. I mean, I know you're really loving 2024. What is your big wish for 2025 in addition to LabVIEW in a box?
Selfishly, I'd like enough work to pay for my 2025. That would be nice. It's a small business thing. You generally go through life not knowing what's going to appear. Unselfishly, I want 2025 to be the year of an assertive and self-confident LabVIEW programmer. I think I talk to quite a few very brilliant people who don't give themselves the worth that they deserve, don't value themselves as highly as they think they ought to. And, you know, the skills we have as LabVIEW programmers, the amount of projects we turn over, the creativity we apply to them, this ain't just a normal job. It's you know, we're domain experts in so many things that aren't programming, and we don't count that as part of our value often. Oh, I'm a LabVIEW program. Well, you know, and I want that to be beginning to be the how people feel about themselves and project themselves a bit more. You know.
So I love that. As we close out, I'm gonna have one quick comment on that. Before we sign off, anybody have something they have to share real quickly before we sign off? All right. I don't see anything. Toss your hand up there if there is something. But Steve, what you're seeing there is exactly tangential to what I noticed when I worked for a startup for about 8 weeks, and it was all Python, Go, JavaScript. There were some brilliant software engineers that I got to know. And what I realized is that as a LabVIEW programmer, there is so much that we do know, and we've pushed the envelope, getting LabVIEW to do things that nobody even thought LabVIEW was going to do. That as software engineers, just our experience and our exposure to so many different architectures, so many different problems, we really have a pretty impressive skill set that is not just front end or back end for web or whatever it might be. And so I agree 100%. Those of us in this space should definitely really take a good look at the amazing things that we've done, the amazing things that we've participated in, and the amazing people that we know in this community that are just incredibly intelligent, incredibly creative. So We are so excited for LabVIEW in 2025. So we want to thank you. I am Nancy helping.
Oh, wait a minute.
Points.
Scores.
Yeah, who won?
Oh, scores. Oh my gosh. I almost forgot about scores. Who won?
The winner. Oh, I hate it. I hate the fact he's the winner. It's Tim. 51 points, Tim. 51 points. Closely followed by Alan.
Wait, give us the runner-up and the third runner-up. Come on.
So Alan's runner-up.
Okay.
And Sam is third.
I like to see the tally there for
Medal.
So I mean, you hurt yourself, guys, by not doing your homework. You would have been straight up there. There's rounds.
Sam did the homework.
See, this is what won it, apparently.
Yeah, do your homework. I even penalized you a bit for that, Tim, and you still won.
No, seriously, Eli should have gotten some extra points for the.
I gave Eli lots of points. He showed me his dog. He got loads of points.
I need to get a dog.
There you go.
Showed you 2 dogs.
And Mark, you have the test stand API.
And I showed you my ugly Christmas sweater. My
I know. You got points for that as well. I was working hard for you, man. But you had a 20-point deficit to overcome. I'm very strict on people who don't do their homework.
I did my homework. It's right here. What makes you think I didn't do my homework?
Give it to me, did you?
Eli's going to do his homework next time. So I'm hungry because it's afternoon at this point. And so thank you all. Thank you, Tim, Norm, Mark, Alan, Eli. You guys have been awesome in the community. Signing off, Sam, the architect of adventure, Steve Watts, the professor of pragmatism, and I am your delightful host, Nancy, the chief of connectedness. Have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and we may be back.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Advent of LabVIEW, maybe.